Hey travelers! Welcome to our ultimate tour of the Netherlands, where windmills meet skyscrapers and canals slice through historic cities. This tiny country, 25% reclaimed from the sea, packs extraordinary diversity into a space smaller than Maryland, home to Rembrandt, Van Gogh, and the original New York, New Amsterdam. The Netherlands consistently ranks among the world's happiest nations. From Rotterdam's bold architecture to Giethoorn's car-free canals, from Kinderdijk's UNESCO, windmills to Utrecht's medieval charm, we're exploring 20 unmissable Dutch destinations. Rotterdam, the Netherlands' second-largest city and Europe's busiest port. After being nearly destroyed in World War II, Rotterdam reinvented itself as an architectural playground unlike anywhere else in the country. Check out those cube houses. They're literally tilted 45 degrees. And that swooping Erasmus Bridge? Locals call it the Swan. The Markthal is a food lover's paradise, a massive horseshoe-shaped building with apartments built into its arch and a ceiling covered in colorful food artwork. Rotterdam's got this fantastic mix of innovative buildings, buzzing nightlife, and maritime heritage. Don't miss the historic Hotel New York, the former headquarters of the Holland-America line, where thousands of Europeans departed for new lives in America. If you're into urban vibes, cutting-edge design, and a totally different Dutch experience from Amsterdam, Rotterdam is your spot. The city keeps reinventing itself with projects like the floating pavilion and water taxis zipping across. The harbor, it's like visiting the future of urban living. The Hague, or as the Dutch call it, Den Haag, the political heart of the Netherlands, but definitely not your typical government town. Sure, it's home to the Dutch Parliament, royal family, and International Court of Justice, but it's also the only major Dutch city with a beach. Scheveningen Beach is just a quick tram ride from the city center, with a gorgeous pier, beach clubs, and that famous red lighthouse. The contrast here is wild. 1 minute you're standing in front of the majestic Peace Palace where world leaders solve international disputes, and the next you're eating fresh herring at a food stall. Don't miss Mauritshuis, the intimate museum, where Vermeer's Girl with a Pearl Earring lives. It's much smaller in person than you'd expect. The city has this elegant vibe with wide avenues and palatial buildings, but then you'll stumble upon the miniature city of Rotterdam, where you can see all of the Netherlands in one place, scaled down to tiny size. The Hague perfectly blends royal grandeur, international importance, and laid-back beach culture. Utrecht, the Netherlands' most underrated gem and my personal favorite Dutch city. This place has all the canal charm of Amsterdam, but with about half the tourists. The unique thing about Utrecht's canals, they have these split-level wharfs where you can sit right by the water at a cafe while the street-level towers above you. These wharfs were originally built for unloading goods from boats, but now they're lined with restaurants and make for the most amazing summer hangout spots. The Dom Tower dominates the skyline. Climb those 465 steps for an incredible view if you're up for it. Utrecht has been a religious center for centuries, and you can feel that history as you wander through the cloister garden of the Dom Church. The whole city has this young, creative energy thanks to the huge student population, with indie shops, record stores, and the world's largest bicycle parking garage holding 12,500 bikes. Make sure to try some locally brewed beer at one of the canal-side breweries and don't miss the Miffy Museum. Yes, that cute cartoon rabbit was created right here in Utrecht. Maastricht, the southernmost city in the Netherlands that feels more like you've stepped into Belgium or France. This ancient city straddles the Meuse River and boasts over 1,600 national heritage buildings, more than any Dutch city except Amsterdam. The cobblestone streets of Vrijthof Square come alive with outdoor cafes and the magnificent basilicas of St. Servatius and St. John. Don't miss the bookstore inside the 13th century Dominican church. Browsing bestsellers under medieval vaulted ceilings is an experience you won't forget. Maastricht's unique location creates a microclimate that's perfect for vineyards. making it the center of Dutch wine production. The city is also famous for being the birthplace of the European Union. The Maastricht Treaty was signed here in 1992. Explore the labyrinth of caves at Mount St. Peter, where locals hid priceless art from Nazi looters during World War II. With its blend of cultures, languages, and cuisines, Maastricht offers the perfect taste of continental Europe, while still being quintessentially Dutch in its charm and hospitality. Leiden, the picturesque university city where Rembrandt was born and where the Pilgrims lived before sailing to America. This compact city packs in more history per square meter than almost anywhere else in the Netherlands. The university, founded in 1575, is the country's oldest, and you can feel that academic energy everywhere. Wander through the botanical gardens where the tulip was first introduced to Western Europe, or explore the Pieterskerk, where many pilgrim families worshipped. Leiden's canal system forms a star pattern around the city, creating these perfect photo opportunities at the spots where 5 or 6 canals meet. The city has over 35 hofjes, hidden courtyards that once housed the elderly and now serve as peaceful retreats from urban life. The best part, you can climb the De Valk windmill right in the city center for an incredible view. Leiden also hosts an amazing floating flower market every Saturday and has the highest museum density in the country, including the quirky Corpus Museum where you can literally journey through a giant human body. Leiden's lovely sister, city Haarlem, sits just a 15-minute train ride from Amsterdam, but feels worlds away from the capital's bustle. Once the tulip trading center of the Netherlands during the Dutch Golden Age, Haarlem retains that prosperous charm with its cobblestone streets and gabled houses lining the Spaarne River. The magnificent Grote Kerk, a Gothic cathedral in the central market square, houses one of the world's most impressive pipe organs, once played by both Handel and Mozart. Frans Hals Museum showcases the city's artistic heritage with works by its namesake and other Dutch masters. Don't miss the Tailors Museum, the oldest museum in the Netherlands with an eclectic collection spanning art, natural history, and scientific instruments. Haarlem was once famous for its beer, at one point having over 100 breweries, and that tradition has been revived with excellent craft beer spots around town. The nearby dunes and beaches of Bloemendaal and Zandvoort are easily reachable by bike, making Haarlem the perfect mix of city culture and coastal nature. Groningen, the vibrant northern city that never seems to sleep thanks to its massive student population, nearly 1 in 4 residents is a student. This gives the city an incredibly energetic vibe, with countless cafes, cultural venues, and innovative businesses. The striking Groninger Museum is an artwork itself, a postmodern masterpiece that appears to float on the canal. Look up to see the Martini Toren, the city's 500-year-old church tower that locals affectionately call Dol Gries, the old gray one. What makes Groningen unique is its traffic system. It was one of the first cities to ban cars from the center, creating a pedestrian and cycling paradise. The city's compact design means everything is within walking distance, but the surrounding countryside offers beautiful contrast with its open fields and Frisian influences. Don't miss the Tuesday and Saturday markets around the Grote Markt. They've been happening for centuries. And as the northernmost city in the Netherlands, Groningen offers a completely different cultural experience from the more visited regions down south. Amsterdam's UNESCO-listed canal ring, a masterpiece of urban planning dating back to the 17th century. These aren't just pretty waterways. They tell the story of how Amsterdam became a global trading power during the Dutch Golden Age. The 3 main canals, Herengracht, Keizersgracht, and Prinsengracht, form perfect semicircles around the old city center, connected by smaller canals that create over 90 islands and require more than 1,500 bridges. Each canal has its own character. Herengracht, Gentleman's Canal, with its grand merchant houses, Prinsengracht with the famous Anne Frank House and Westerkerk Church, and Keizersgracht, Emperor's Canal, with its slightly more spacious mansions. What many visitors don't realize is that these canals aren't just for show. They're still working infrastructure used for transportation, recreation, and even as venues for events like King's Day celebrations and the Pride Parade float. The floating homes along the canals are actually highly coveted real estate, and during winter freezes, becoming rarer with climate change, the canals transform into the world's most beautiful skating rinks. Nijmegen, the Netherlands' oldest city with a history stretching back to Roman times when it was known as Novio Magus. Perched dramatically on hills above the Waal River, yes, hills in the Netherlands, this ancient city offers spectacular views you can't find anywhere else in the country. The Valkhof Park contains ruins of Charlemagne's 8th century palace and a Renaissance chapel that showcases the city's layered history. Despite being heavily damaged in World War II, Nijmegen's reconstructed center retains a cozy charm with winding streets and the beautiful Grote Markt Square. The city hosts the world's largest walking event, the 4 Days Marches, where over 40,000 participants walk 30 to 50 kilometers daily for 4 consecutive days. Nijmegen's strategic location near the German border gives it a unique cultural blend, with excellent food influences from both countries. The modern crossing bridge represents the city's forward-looking attitude, commemorating the World War II battle while creating a striking new landmark. With Radboud University bringing youthful energy and innovation, Nijmegen perfectly balances its ancient roots with vibrant contemporary culture. Amersfoort, the medieval gem with one of the best preserved historic centers in the Netherlands. Its distinctive koppelpoort, a combined land and water gate from 1425, is like something straight out of a fairy tale and remains remarkably intact. The city's unusual layout follows a perfectly preserved double ring of canals and ancient city walls, with the inner ring dating back to the 13th century. Look for the Muurhuizen, wall houses, built directly into the old city fortifications. People actually live in them. The 98-meter-tall Ons Lieve Vrouwetoren, Tower of Our Lady, dominates the skyline and marks the exact spot that was used as a central point for mapping the entire country. Amersfoort was also the birthplace of modernist painter Piet Mondrian, and his childhood home is now an interactive museum. The Mondrian Quarter shows how this picturesque medieval city ironically produced one of the world's most abstract artists. Don't miss tasting the local delicacy Koeken, boulder cookies, named after the bizarre glacial boulder that became the city's quirky symbol after a practical joke in 1661 when locals dragged it into town. Giethoorn, the utterly enchanting village often called the Venice of the North, where cars are completely absent and canals serve as the main streets. This fairy tale settlement was founded around 1230 by a group of fugitives who discovered a large deposit of peat and built their homes on the small islands between the excavated peat holes. Over 180 arched wooden footbridges connect these tiny islands, and the only way to reach many of the thatched roof farmhouses is by boat or on foot. The village originally gained fame in 1958 when it was featured in the Dutch comedy Fanfare by filmmaker Bert Hanstra. But today, it's become especially popular with tourists from China after featuring in their version of the travel show, The Amazing Race. The canals remain remarkably peaceful in the early morning or evening after day trippers have left. Look out for the traditional punter boats, similar to Venetian gondolas but distinctly Dutch, and notice how residents have adapted to canal life. Many homes have special hatches where goods can be loaded directly from boats. Giethoorn proves that sometimes the most magical places are created not by design, but by necessity. HOGE VELUWE National Park, the Netherlands' largest terrestrial nature reserve, and a wild, unexpected landscape that shatters stereotypes about the Dutch countryside. This vast 13,800-acre park contains remarkable diversity. Dense forests, shifting, sand dunes that look like a desert, heathlands that burst into purple bloom in late summer, and grasslands home to deer, wild boars, and mouflons, wild sheep. The park has an incredible origin story. It was once the private estate of Anton and Helene Kruller-Müller, who collected art and preserved the land before financial troubles forced them to transfer it to the Dutch state. Their legacy lives on in the spectacular Kruller-Müller Museum within the park, housing the world's second-largest Van Gogh collection and an amazing sculpture garden. The park's 1700 free white bicycles are a Dutch icon. Grab one at any entrance and pedal along the 40 kilometer paths through constantly changing landscapes. Look for the unusual underground wildlife viewing bunkers where patient visitors can observe animals without disturbing them. The park's distinctive red deer rut in autumn creates an incredible soundscape as males battle for dominance with their impressive antlers. Kinderdijk, the quintessential Dutch postcard scene featuring 19 perfectly preserved windmills from the 1700s, now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. These aren't just pretty photo opportunities. They're engineering marvels that have kept the surrounding polder dry for centuries. The entire area sits about 7 meters below river level, making it a perfect example of the Dutch saying, "God created the world, but the Dutch created the Netherlands." Each windmill housed a miller's family, who lived inside the rotating structure. Imagine trying to sleep while the entire building moved with the wind. The interior of these mills is surprisingly spacious, with living quarters ingeniously built around the central mechanical shaft. Kinderdijk represents different types of mills working together in a system. When the wind blew, they could pump water up in stages, lifting it into a higher reservoir before finally moving it into the river. Today, modern electric pumping stations do most of the work, but the windmills remain operational and are activated regularly. The surrounding wetlands have become an important bird sanctuary, making Kinderdijk not just a monument to human ingenuity, but also a thriving ecosystem. Delft, the charming city of blue and white pottery, hidden courtyards, and where the Dutch royal family finds its final resting place. Walking through Delft feels like stepping into one of Vermeer's paintings, which makes sense since this is where the master painter lived and worked his entire life. The city's 2 magnificent churches dominate the skyline. The Nieuw Kerk, New Church, with its towering spire houses the royal crypts, where William of Orange and generations of Dutch monarchs are buried. Meanwhile, the leaning tower of the Oude Kerk, Old Church, is the final resting place of Vermeer himself. Delft became world famous for its distinctive blue and white pottery, Delftware, created in the 17th century as a local alternative to expensive Chinese porcelain. The Royal Delft factory, established in 1653, is the last of 32 original earthenware factories still operating. Delft's compact center is crisscrossed by small canals and dotted with hidden hofjes, almshouse courtyards, that offer peaceful retreats from the bustling markets. As home to one of the country's top technical universities, this historic city also buzzes with innovative energy, a perfect blend of tradition and cutting-edge thinking. The Frisian Islands, a stunning string of barrier islands stretching along the northern coast and forming a natural boundary between the North Sea and the shallow Wadden Sea. This entire ecosystem is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of Europe's last true wilderness areas. Each island has its own distinct character. Texel, with its prized sheep and microbrewery. Vlieland and Schiermonnikoog, where cars are completely banned. Terschelling, with its cranberry fields originally cultivated, after a barrel washed ashore from a shipwreck. What makes these islands truly special is the dynamic landscape. Powerful tides transform the scenery twice daily, revealing and then reclaiming vast mudflats teeming with life. During low tide, you can actually walk across the seabed from the mainland to some islands during guided wadlopen, mudwalking tours, an experience unlike anything else in Europe. The islands boast the cleanest air in the Netherlands and some of Europe's most beautiful beaches, with natural dune systems protecting the interior. Each island has developed its own dialect, traditions, and even cuisine, creating distinct mini-cultures that proudly maintain their independence from mainland Dutch life. BIESBOSCH National Park, one of Europe's largest freshwater tidal wetlands and a maze-like wilderness that emerged from a catastrophic flood. In 1421, the infamous St. Elizabeth's flood broke through medieval dikes and submerged 72 villages, creating this vast wetland that would never be fully reclaimed. Today, it's a 9,000-hectare labyrinth of rivers, islands, and willow forests where the tides rise and fall by up to 70 centimeters twice daily, a rare phenomenon for an inland area. During World War II, the Biesbosch's impenetrable nature made it a crucial hiding place for the Dutch resistance, who used its countless waterways to smuggle people and supplies past German occupiers. The park has become a biodiversity hotspot, home to beavers, reintroduced in 1988 after 150 years of absence, white-tailed eagles, osprey, and countless waterfowl. The best way to explore is by whisper boat, silent electric vessels that allow you to glide through narrow channels without disturbing wildlife. The park changes dramatically with the seasons. In winter, sections freeze over creating natural ice skating routes, while summer brings explosions of wildflowers and dragonflies. The Biesbosch demonstrates the Dutch philosophy of sometimes working with water rather than always fighting against it. ALKMAAR's historic city center, famous worldwide for its traditional cheese market that's been operating since 1365. Every Friday morning from April to September, the Waagplein Square transforms into a colorful spectacle as cheese carriers dressed in white with different colored hats, representing their guild groups, transport massive rounds of cheese using traditional wooden stretchers. The carriers belong to a cheese bearers guild with its own initiation rituals and traditions dating back centuries. Beyond the cheese market, ALKMAAR boasts over 400 registered monuments, including the imposing 15th century Grote Kerk with its magnificent pipe organ and the Gewande Huis, one of the oldest houses in the Netherlands. The city played a crucial role in Dutch history when it successfully resisted Spanish forces in 1573 during the 80 Years' War, an event still celebrated annually as Victory Day. ALKMAAR's canals are less crowded than Amsterdam's but equally charming, lined with step-gabled merchant houses and crossed by photogenic drawbridges. Don't miss the Netherlands Cheese Museum housed in the historic Wayhouse, or the quirky Dutch Beatles Museum, showcasing memorabilia from when the Fab Four toured here in the 1960s. Eindhoven, the design and technology powerhouse that transformed from an industrial city to the Netherlands' capital of innovation. Unlike other Dutch cities with historic centers, Eindhoven embraces its modern identity. It was almost completely rebuilt after World War II bombing, allowing for bold urban planning. This is the birthplace of electronics giant Philips, and that innovative spirit continues at the high-tech campus, nicknamed the smartest square kilometer in Europe, with over 140 companies and 10,000 researchers working on future technologies. Eindhoven celebrates its design credentials during Dutch Design Week, the largest design event in Northern Europe with exhibitions spread throughout the city. The former Philips factories have been brilliantly repurposed into creative hubs like Stripe S, where industrial architecture now houses cutting-edge startups, restaurants, and cultural spaces. Even the city's light art is revolutionary. The Hoven Ring, a floating circular bicycle bridge illuminated at night, has become an iconic symbol of Dutch urban design excellence. Look for the Flying Pins, a giant bowling alley installation, where enormous pins appear to have been scattered by an invisible bowler. Just one example of how public art transforms the cityscape. Eindhoven proves that not all Dutch beauty is historic. ZUID-KENNEMERLAND National Park, a stunning coastal wilderness just a short distance from Amsterdam, where ancient dune landscapes protect the country from the North Sea. This 3,800-hectare park contains some of the Netherlands' most dramatic scenery. Massive sand dunes rising up to 30 meters high covered with rare vegetation found nowhere else in the country. What makes this place truly special is how it combines human history with wild nature. Hidden throughout the park are remnants of World War II bunkers from the Atlantic Wall, now repurposed as bat hibernation habitats. The park is home to a herd of European bison, reintroduced in 2007 as part of a continent-wide conservation effort for this once nearly extinct species. Trails wind through 5 distinct ecosystems, from beaches to forests, with each area hosting unique plants and animals adapted to these challenging conditions. The abandoned estate of Duin en Kruidberg now serves as a visitor center and luxury hotel, offering glimpses into how wealthy Amsterdammers once used these dunes as summer retreats. Just offshore, if you're lucky, you might spot harbor seals and porpoises swimming in the protected waters. The park demonstrates the Netherlands' commitment to preserving wild spaces even in one of Europe's most densely populated regions. Zaanse Schans, the open-air conservation area and working community that showcases Dutch industrial heritage from the 17th and 18th centuries, when over 600 windmills powered the world's first industrial zone. Today, 6 restored windmills still function, each designed for a specific purpose. From sawing timber to pressing oil to grinding pigments for paint, the iconic Rembrandt and Vermeer paintings used pigments from these very mills. What makes Zaanse Schans special is that it's not just a museum. People actually live in the historic green wooden houses, many of which were transported here from around the region to preserve them. Visit the working cheese farm, watch traditional wooden clogs being carved at the clog workshop, or sample traditional Dutch candies at the Confectionery Museum, where recipes remain unchanged for centuries. The scent of chocolate often fills the air thanks to the nearby cocoa processing facilities that continue the area's industrial tradition. A little-known fact is that the iconic Albert Heijn supermarket chain, now found throughout the Netherlands, started as a small grocery store here in 1887. The site beautifully demonstrates how the Dutch harnessed wind power to build industries that made their small country an economic powerhouse long before the age of fossil fuels. And there you have it. Our journey through the Netherlands' most amazing places comes to an end. From innovative Rotterdam to peaceful Giethoorn, from the rolling dunes of ZUID-KENNEMERLAND to the historic windmills of Kinderdijk, this small country packs an incredible diversity of experiences into its compact size. What makes the Netherlands truly special isn't just its picture-perfect landscapes or architectural wonders, but the ingenious way the Dutch have shaped their environment while respecting its natural beauty. As the Dutch saying goes, God created the world, but the Dutch created the Netherlands. And what a creation it is! Whether you're cycling along canal paths, sampling local cheeses, admiring centuries-old masterpieces, or simply sitting at a cafe watching the world go by, the Netherlands offers experiences that will stay with you long after you've returned home. So, grab your camera, pack your sense of adventure, and come discover why this tiny country continues to captivate travelers from around the world. Tot ziens. Until we see each other again.